Gentlemen, the time has come once again to discuss things.
If y'all don't mind, we're going to go ahead and get started. Hi everyone, welcome to another episode of Geeky Gentlemen. I'm Supremecy. Joining me today is a whole cast of crazy characters.
I'm Connor.
I'm Steve.
I'm Deadpoolzilla.
And indeed they all are, and they all have a terrible sense of when to introduce themselves.
We have no timing.
Well, you did say. Well, you didn't give us like a signal to go.
I gave you a signal, which was to quit talking and let you introduce yourselves.
Timing.
Yeah, exactly. It's the root of all comedy. So we're on a review topic, and Steve and I were discussing this last week before the show, that we don't really talk about music that much on Geeky Gentlemen. And so Steve decided to continue that tradition by having us review this. Steve, what are we talking about tonight?
So today we are talking about an album I've been listening to a lot lately called Supremecy by Hatebreed.
And I would not call this music.
Well, you would be wrong.
Ooh, throwing down the glove.
Okay, here's the thing. Metalcore is really, really weird, and literally everyone will crucify everyone else over any opinion they have whatsoever. So, like, everyone's a metalcore expert, and everyone else isn't always.
Okay.
So it's
like
a bad fandom, and, like, unless you have people you can trust to talk about some of it, it just gets really hairy, which is part of why I wanted to talk about it on this show, because I don't think anyone here really listens to metalcore except me.
Well, that's why Deadpoolzilla's here. Because he's the only metalhead I know. That I record with, I should say.
If we were ever doing a Slipknot album, I'd be there. Like, Hatebreed is a band I haven't gotten back to since their third album. Which is the one right before this one, right?
Yeah, that's Rise of Brutality.
Yeah, and this is a band literally I'd never heard of. I was really shocked to find out that this album was from 2006, and I use the word album very loosely. I should just...
Oh, come on, there's a through line, at least. It is an album.
Yeah, but it's, like, that still implies music, and...
Yeah, because it's music.
It's really not. It's just noise and screaming.
Oh, come on, screw you. That's not true. It's literally the genre.
And then it's a bad genre.
You can't just dismiss a whole genre.
Yes, I can. I can dismiss an entire genre based on one album. I can totally do that. It's in the book of reviewing law.
No, you can't just dismiss
Now, to get into this debate, I'd love to hear Never Let It Die as like a lounge jazz tune. That'd be awesome.
Well, here's the thing, is, like, the lyrics are kind of sort of interesting, but because I could barely understand anything that he was saying, I actually, like, pulled up the lyrics and read them along with him. And, like, literally, it's not a song, it's just, like, a guy preaching to you. Like, he doesn't sing, he just literally is yelling at you the whole time. There's no lyricism to these lyrics. It is literally a preach.
But no, but see, that's the thing, right? Like, there's a difference between singing and screaming. And musically, you can do either, and some bands do both, like Of Mice and Men does both. But, like, this is a more leaning towards the metal part of metalcore kind of band, so there's no singing. It's just the screaming. But it's interesting how, like, structurally the screaming works in opposition to what the whole message of the thing is anyway. And it's got a fantastic through line. Like, by the time you get like, Defeatist up to Destroy Everything is one like, character arc, and then Divine Judgment all the way to Supremacy of Self is the other half of that character arc.
Mm. And see, I found the message kind of interesting, and then I started scrolling through the comments, and I saw the fuck niggers, I want to curb stomp a nigger comments, and I was like, oh, so it's this crowd. And that was uncomfortable. I'm not saying that that's connected to the message. I think this is at least intended to be a message of self-improvement, and then people put their own shit onto it, but...
Well, it is, because Hatebreed is a really good progressive band. Like, everyone... all of their subsequent albums and stuff are, like, very interestingly, like, pro-Black Lives Matter, and, like, more leftist-leaning politics anyway. It's just metalcore fandom is annoying as fuck.
No, I get that. Like, you know... I work with a lot of people who are into metal, but there's also, like, the skinhead crowd is into metal. Yeah. And that's part of why I've never felt welcome listening to metal, is I know that those people are there. And that's always just, like, I've always imagined going to a concert and getting the shit kicked out of me for, you know, not being...
Oh, dude, I'm with you. I actually got into a fight with one of those dudes at a Disturbed concert. It was not fun.
Yeah, so like, the whole, like, metal culture is not something I'm really interested in. I cannot listen to metal unless I'm just 10 shades of pissed off. So that didn't help with this. Like, if I'd listened to this right when I came home from work today, might have done a bit better, because I was really exhausted at that point and just annoyed with work. But...
See, and that's what I do with these kinds of songs, is, like, as soon as I get home from work, I just blast, like, some metalcore. But, like, to speak to your point about like, not being in with this crowd, it ranges all over the place. There's a band called Bishop, and they've got a song called You're Not Safe Here, which is them literally yelling at their crowd, saying that if you're, like, a racist or a bigot or a sexist or something, you are not safe here because we will kick your ass.
Mm.
And so, like, it's a very aggressive thing, but not always in a bad way.
Yeah. And I try not to judge a product or what's the word I want here? I try not to judge a thing based just on the quality of its fan base, because if I did that, all comics would be awful. Yeah. Geekvolution would be a terrible channel. Zing! But in all honesty, I try not to do that, but it does color your opinion. And I'm being maybe a little harder on this than I really should, but this is totally just not a thing for me. When I listen to music, it is all about the lyricism here. And Steve, you'd agree that it's screaming, it's not lyrics, right?
Well, no, it's not that it's not lyrics. It's screaming, it's not singing. That's a difference. The lyrics are there, and it's lyrical. It's just it's screaming, it's not singing.
Okay, I guess we need a definition of lyricism then.
Because I guess we might be thinking of it in two different ways. But so, let me know what you mean by that, and then we can go from there.
Okay, when I say lyricism, and you're right, I'm probably not I didn't bother to look up the word or anything, but I'm probably not using the word right. When I say lyricism, what I think of is not only, you know, rhyme structure and stuff like that, but to have metaphors carried through sections, stanzas, to have, you know, lines that match with the tone of the music at different points. And I can point to, like, things in songs that I listen to that do this well. And I just think that, like, you could say, well, the tone of how he's singing it and the words that he's using totally match with the guitar riff here or whatever. But to me, dude, if you'd cut out some of the pauses and breaks here, I wouldn't be able to tell you where one song ends and another begins. Because it's just playing the drums as hard as you can, strumming the guitar like crazy. I
think that's partially deliberate, though.
Yeah, because I mean that's part of the genre, right? Like that's part of the whole punk thing of like playing music in your garage, even though it doesn't matter that you're good at it or not.
Yeah, and it does matter. Trust me, it matters.
Well, this album, Supremacy was kind of like Hatebreed's. Like this was I think their fastest album, right?
Yeah, it's only like 30, 40 minutes tops.
It's 36
minutes. They were like gunning it in this one, whereas previous albums were a lot more slower and a lot more, I would say, methodic.
Well, even their newest one, I forget what the newest one's called, but like even that one's like a good hour burn.
Yeah. This one, they were just hitting the gas pedal on this one, and I'm not saying that's bad. I just say like because I remember Hatebreed like in the earlier albums they were a lot more slower, and I would get into just nothing but arguments saying, "Is this Pantera?" With like my uncle or something or someone in my family, and just be like, "No, this is Hatebreed. No, this is Pantera." Like it would be literally like, "Is this the Krusty Krab?" But with metal.
No, this is Patrick. Okay.
No, this is Pantera.
And like, I'm pretty sure we have now lost all credibility with any metalheads watching this. You know, it's funny. I always say that it's really refreshing when we're doing an episode of Geeky Gentleman, and I know that it'll be the best review of that thing on YouTube. Because there's only one other review of this album on YouTube. And it's just like 2 minutes and 30 seconds of a guy going, the drums are awesome, the guitar is awesome. Like, I don't know. So imagine someone's watching this who's all pissed off at me. That's totally fine. Be pissed off at me. You're a metalhead. That's what I expect from you. But I don't know. I'm not going to say that this is bad in general. I will say that I hated it. I will say that I did not enjoy much of anything in it. I will say that I will never listen to this again. So take that for what it's worth.
So it's interesting that you're coming to this from like a taste and like a very specific experience with it. I'll just go ahead and explain like part of why I listen to this particular album so much and why I love it as much as I do. Because it's angry as fuck, but then that's part of what makes metalcore so much fun is that everything's always angry, and I love the angriness. But part of it's just that, like, it's... Depressed music has the tendency to be depressing, and that's always kind of a performative problem, where, like, if you're making a song about cheering up from depression, it shouldn't, like, completely be still in that same first emotional wavelength. When the song beat changes to something that is meant to be more positive, the music should alter with it, and that's almost never the case. Like, a depressing song is a depressing song. A pop song is a pop song. There's very little versatility in how that's supposed to be. So, this album doesn't have that. It's not like any one song or any particular part of the album is a change in genre or a change in tone or anything like that. But that's okay here for the first time when I've listened to something like this, because it's about literally snapping you out of something. So, like I mentioned, there's like an arc going from the first song up to Destroy Everything, and then after that all the way down to Supremacy of Self, because it's very much about recognizing a self-defeating personality, eradicating that as effectively and as decisively as possible because you have to snap out of it, and then aggressively recognizing what that means for you all the way through. So, like, that kind of anger is the same sort of, like, anger a depressed person feels at themselves, and so when they snap out of it, like, it's kind of like... It's... Vice and Men released a new song called Unbreakable, and it's kind of like that kind of song where, like, it's a personal anthem, except it's stretched out for a whole album. And I really, really dig that.
And yeah, I definitely understood on some level, keeping in mind I only listened to this once, I understood the character arc and what the message of the song was trying to say with this idea of self-deconstruction and self-improvement. I mean, that first song has lines like, you hate that you hate everything, or something to that effect. And I thought that was an interesting line. It's just the trappings all around this make it so hard for me to give it much credit for
that. That whole
it's
deeper,
the genre,
you know that, right?
Like, it's the genre.
Yeah. How about you, Connor? How did you react to this?
So, my reaction to Supremacy, I haven't really listened to anything this heavy in a very long time. Going back maybe 6-7 years. So there was a bit of a novelty going back to something like this. It reminded me when I was in middle school and early high school. And it reminded me of being scared of, like, I wanted to be a rock star, or, you know, I had really long hair, I played the guitar, I wanted to be a rock star when I was in middle school and early high school. The only other people who were interested in playing rock and roll music were actually the heavy metalhead kids. And I was scared of them, and especially when I got into high school and they were so much larger, and like they would carve pentagrams into their shoulders and stuff. It freaked me out, and so I didn't really want to be a rock star anymore. And so listening to something like this, it kind of reminded me of something like they would listen to. So, but now I'm bigger and I can listen to this, and it doesn't scare me as much. And it didn't really scare me, but it kind of reminded me of being young and afraid, or at least whatever. So hearing this, I understand the point of metalcore. I get it. It's not my thing, generally speaking. I like something with a little bit more range. As an album, I think it works. I think that there's a consistent level of quality here. I think that there's enough. See, when I listen to music, I like going for the emotional responses, how I'm connecting with it on an emotional level, and I mostly do this through rhythm and melody, not so much the words or the lyrics. Those are good too, but it's more subservient to the music, because I studied violin and I studied music. I wasn't really much into choir or singing. So I thought that there was enough differentiation in the rhythms between each song. However, how does this particular album's rhythms compare to any other band or any other album or any other song in this exact same genre? I don't think it really sticks out in any way. So I think that no two songs sound really exactly the same, because even if the drum beats or the bass lines are repetitive, if like two of them sound similar, at least one of them will have like a guitar lick that the other one doesn't. And so there's enough differentiation there. Other than that, it's not really my thing. It's fine for what it is. I might go back and listen to one or two of these songs. I like the song Destroy Everything. I really like this song. What did I mention earlier? I'm looking at the track list right here. Never Let It Die. I like that song. I found some of them to be a little forgettable. I found that the vocals got a little repetitive, and I found that there was a bit of a formula to these songs. The guitarist will have a long strum, and then the vocalist will scream the name of the song or just scream, and then we'd get into the actual song. I found that a little repetitive. Metallica does that a lot too, where they'll have like a small acoustic, quiet, like arpeggio, and then they'll get into the heavy stuff and just start like going into the Metallica thing. So the formula got a little tedious, but overall it was fine. I might go back and listen to a couple of the songs.
Mm-hmm. How about you, Deadpoolzilla? What was your reaction going back to this?
Going back to this, this I think is a solid album on its own, but I personally preferred Hatebreed's second album. That's just me, though. That's just me. This felt like it was, again, like I said earlier, it was going a lot faster than their previous albums, and that's fine. I was about to say but I don't really find a lot of flaws in this album other than I feel like maybe they were trying to be a little too experimental, but I feel like it worked out for its best on a whole, because I was a little shaky from this, but when I got to Destroy Everything, I was like, okay, this is good. I can roll with this.
Okay.
So to that point, Deadpoolzilla, I found it to be a double-edged sword, the length of this album, where I liked how brief and in and out these songs were, but at the same time, I don't feel like the core of these songs really hit me on a visceral level and on an emotional level as much as they could have, because they didn't really have much staying power. I think it speaks volumes that my favorite song on the album was also the longest song on the album.
And see, when we talk about the way music hits you emotionally, and that's always a really big thing when we talk about people's favorite albums and favorite bands, because people don't think about their music a lot. Or not everyone does, I should say. A lot of people just like what they like, and they can't really tell you why. One part of it's they don't have the vocabulary, part of it's just they don't think about it a lot. Very few people listen to music as opposed to just put music on. And so when you get someone to try to explain why they love an album or something, it really breaks down, and it's hard to transfer that kind of affection for something over to another person without it being that kind of thing. And so I kind of feel like that's what's going on here, because obviously Steve said he's been listening to this a lot, and I'm sure that the way it hits him at the right time, at the right place kind of thing, emotionally, is what makes it so good to him, or part of what makes it so good to him. And since I'm not in that place in that moment right now, I can't connect with it on that level. And so I'm coming to it with my own personal experiences, and I'm just like, yeah, no thank you.
Mm-hmm.
You know what?
Steve, how many times have you heard this album?
At least 10 times.
Okay.
But like, see, because part of it with the part of the thing with metalcore is, people say that like listening to aggressive music can like on some level be bad for you because it can make you aggressive, or like it can raise your blood pressure, like all that shit. Like it's just like sometimes it's too much of an adrenaline thing or whatever. But like, I never really understood that, because in a lot of ways it's really, really therapeutic. Like sometimes you need something like Suicide Silence, fuck everything kind of thing.
It's very. Oh, sorry, Steve. I was just going to say it's very much for me. It's like a painkiller.
Yeah, exactly. So like it's got like this very therapeutic, like you said, painkiller level to it. So it's hard for me to think about this album as like, here's what it's doing on structural levels that make it good music. But I can definitely like just sit there and appreciate it, because everything that's being said, like the phenomenological experience of the album and the time and place I'm in, like that kind of like Benjaminian aura is why I love it so much. So like, it's not like Reps, or it's not like Bishop, where like I listen to those albums or those artists and their albums because like there's very particular interesting lyrical bends to it that I want. Even something like OTEP, where like that's a really aggressive band, but like it's really aggressively political, so there's something else going on there. And Hatebreed has those albums, but it's not this one. This one is very much just what is a raw emotional reaction to a very raw emotional thing. And I don't know, I feel like it's hard to analyze this album on any other level other than how it connects with you on a personal level, because that's all it's really trying to do.
Yeah, and so for me, as someone who, doesn't look in the mirror and hate myself, at least not at the current point in time, that's like not the kind of message I really need right now.
Exactly.
And at times, some of the lyrics, when you're not in that place, at times some of the lyrics come off as, I don't know if I want to say cheesy, but like maybe a little self-important.
And they are, but like, again, it's just like sometimes you need to hear that.
Like, look at me and see glory, is that the line?
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah, like that just, that was cringeworthy to me.
But then there's like, in Mind Overall, he's got the line of like, the war is knowing, and like that whole song being about knowing what your mind is in relation to who you are. Like, it's those kinds of things where like, it's reassuring even if it's cheesy and maybe not necessarily epistemically sound.
Oh, big words. Big words. I almost like wanted to slap you with a ruler for using phenomenology.
One of the things that
there's a similar thing. Falling in Reverse has got a band, or Falling in Reverse is the band. They've got an album called Coming Home, which is essentially the same kind of like thematic crux, but like it's much more singing. It's much more story-wise broken down. It's much more on a technical level a better album. But it's not like, it doesn't have the same kind of raw emotional gut punch this one does. At least not for me. I like that album, but I like this one better.
And see, you know what? Right. Like this, it's really interesting to be talking about music right now on the show, because again, it's something we rarely do. But Haley and I are picking songs for the wedding and stuff. We had a DJ over here tonight, and we were like looking through stuff. I was looking for a song for my mom and I to dance to at the wedding. And, like, there are lists online of suggested songs, and to the point of some people don't actually pay attention to the lyrics. Mother by Pink Floyd was on there.
Oh, my Lord.
Ooh.
Oh, no.
Right?
Not a good idea.
Oh, no.
Terrible idea. But it's like, what? So, I don't know, it's interesting because I'm not sure how many people that also like this like it because of the reason that you do, Steve.
Exactly. People will just play Destroy Everything because they want to destroy everything, but that's not what the song's about.
Yeah, and like you look through the comments on, like seriously, I watched this album, I listened to this by watching a YouTube video that was just the whole thing. I'm a bloody pirate, whatever. I just scrolled down looking through the comments, and there's all these things about, oh, they're not a racist band. You know what's funny? I read every comment on that video. Not one person suggested that they were a racist band, but there were people saying racist-ass things and people explaining why they were not a racist band. I found that hilarious. But just the whole thing of like the community or the kinds of things that people will read into thing, and looking at that other guy's review, he's like, he doesn't mention the lyrics at all, and that's the only thing in this album that I find remotely interesting, even though I don't feel that they really count as lyrics. Just that whole approach to how other people view music boggles my mind. And I'm going to say something that's going to probably get a lot of like, what the fucks, because it always does. I hate live music.
What? Interesting.
Okay, and here's why. You know how, like, Cotter, you and Rasco have a whole fucking rant thing that you two can do about this. You know how you two, like, hate it when anyone does anything in a movie theater besides sit there and watch the movie quietly?
Yep.
I would kill to go to a concert where that attitude was the way. I cannot stand live music because I fucking hate the crowds and just the shitty sound quality. Just fuck live music so much. So, yeah, I have, like, a very different kind of experience. Like, I don't like listening to songs with other people, because I just want to tell them to shut up and listen to this one really good line. Or listen to how, like, this feeds into this musical transition with this instrument and blah, blah, blah. That shit's what fascinates me about music. Mm-hmm. And I know other people do not experience music in that way.
Yeah, my kind of... music is such a personal thing for me. Like, I don't share music with other people unless I'm mostly positive they will like something. My favorite bands are stuff like Queen. Like, I think the best album ever recorded is Night of the Opera, where stuff like the Prophet song goes into Love of My Life, and then how 39 plays all into it. I think it's a perfect album, but I would never play Lazy on a Sunday afternoon for anybody because they would think I'm an idiot for liking that song, because out of context, it's super goofy. So, I can't remember where I was going with this, so someone take us somewhere.
Cool. I'm sorry to get us off on such a tangent, but it's just, that's something about music that fascinates me, and that, like, I think that really works on this level is, the only way that this album really works is either if you don't think about it, like people do, or if you are in the correct emotional place for this album. Otherwise, I don't feel like there's any way you could really convince me it works.
But I don't know. If you like, I think the rhythm section of Hatebreed is really good. I think they're pretty tight, and they seem to have a focus over the rhythm section. I mean, mostly like the drums and the bass, and then the rhythm guitar.
That's hard for me.
A weird word because it implies works for what. So I wouldn't say you have to like connect to it or like not pay attention to it for it to work. I think it's more along the lines of like those are two levels under which it works, but as an album, it doesn't operate on many other levels.
Yeah, that's what I think. I mean, it's like it's not really hitting you anywhere else. Like
there's no range to this. This is not an album you share. It's an album you kind of keep.
Yeah, I could see and understand that.
It's hard then to keep it at 36 minutes.
Early 20s Ian would have probably been able to enjoy this more.
Maybe. I mean, I was debating between picking this album, which I didn't think we'd have much to say on, and another album by Ice Nine Kills called Every Trick in the Book, which I love. And that would have been a more interesting review because every song in that album is a song version of like a movie or a book or something. Like there's a Jekyll and Hyde song, there's a Romeo and Juliet song. Like it's it's a literary thing all the way through, and they're actually recording a new song that they did a poll for, which is either going to be on Psycho or on The Shining. So that would have been a much more interesting conversation, but I think part of the challenge of this album is just that I don't know what to say about it other than it hits me in the feels.
It hits me right in the feels.
I get you. Now, I'll say something about the way I was responding to this album was, if I wasn't necessarily listening for that through line about self-betterment, then I don't know if that's a word, but I'll just say betterment. Now, I would assume that them talking about pushing it, what's it called? What's the second song called? Oh, wait, my bad. To the Threshold, or, about being triumphant and all that sort of stuff, or crushing your enemies and crushing your demons and getting better. I would almost feel like that was a gimmick, because I know that, now this is where it gets tricky, and I know a lot of metal bands do this thing where they want to get attention, so they sort of have a gimmick where everything's sort of centered around an idea. And it's easy if somebody were to listen to this and just say, oh, it sounds very militant and it's very aggressive and it's about destroying those who oppose you. And obviously, on a lyrical level, this is about it's about personal. It's about individual people getting better.
Oh yeah, I mean, it's all centered inward. There's a lot of discussion about mirrors and reflections, and then there's I used to be just like you kind of thing. That's really very present here.
So, and now, that being said, though, if Steve hadn't said he wanted to listen to this, and I know Steve does like to listen to more of those overlaying concepts, and I know that he said that he's not an album guy, he's more of a singles guy. So, and he said that he prefers concept albums to just like a regular album. He said that in the past. I don't know if you still feel that way, Steve.
No, I still agree with that. I don't listen to full-on albums. Even this, I listen to the album all the way through, but even every now and then I skip around to things, skipping between Horrors of Self to Supremacy of Self is an interesting experience.
Yeah, but I felt like if I wasn't keeping an ear out for those ideas that subtly progress, I think it is a subtle progression, then I probably would have thought this was gimmicky and might have dismissed it out of hand. So I think if you know metalcore and you know bands and how they approach their material, then listen to this. If you're just trying to listen to this out of the blue as just a metal album, you might see it as a little gimmicky.
Yeah.
That's probably fair. It's a very particular thing. It's not like anything else the band's necessarily done. So that's the weird thing about it.
Okay.
For example, if I was telling someone to get into Hatebreed, I'd tell them to listen to Divinity of Purpose or For the Lions or something like that, or even what their newest album is, and not this one. But even if I knew the person didn't like metalcore, if they're in a particular place, I'd recommend this album. It's that kind of weird thing where I don't know if this represents them, but it represents something.
I get that, yeah.
Okay, I'm going to throw this out there just because I feel like I've kind of shat on this, and I have. But I think everyone goes through or has something that it's not quite a guilty pleasure, because you'd be willing to talk about it, but you might feel better off if other people didn't necessarily know you listen to a thing.
Yeah.
Because I feel like I've been a little harsh on this, where it's hitting you in a place and a time, and that's kind of what it is. I definitely had stuff like that. To go back to late middle school, early high school, for me the thing that I probably won't ever pick up again, but at a time in my place in my life, that was the soundtrack that really impacted me. Bright Eyes. So, go listen to their stuff if you want. It got me at a point in time. I don't know if it would anymore. I don't know. I think some of the lyrics in that were kind of interesting. But
I mean, Bright Eyes isn't terrible or anything.
It's not terrible, but it's got a very particular reputation at this point, I'd like to think.
Yeah, no, you're right. I don't hate Bright Eyes. It's just it always felt a little bit distanced for me.
What is Bright Eyes?
It's pretty much an emo band. There's no way around it. It's like an indie emo band.
Okay.
Yeah.
And like I wasn't ever emo, but like that was a thing that I got into for a while. That band. And so again, I'm sure all the metalheads watching this are like, "You fucking sassy fag."
Oh yeah. No, I can tell you that, you are digging your grave just with every word, Ian.
Well, that makes me more metal than you, Deadpoolzilla. When was the last time you dug your grave? Mic drop! Hold on. I just realized I said mic drop, but guess what?
Oh, whoa, he did it.
That was worth it. That was worth this entire episode.
That's the bit right there. That is the moment.
Well, like, I mean, I knew going into it. That's why I was just shitty up front with, like, it's not really music. Just because I knew if I'm going to piss him off, I'm going to piss him off early. I'm not going to have him get, like, halfway through and then get pissed off.
I really wish because my roommate's the one that listens to metalcore and is, like, an expert on it and the one that got me into it. I really wish I could have gotten him to, like, sit here and talk to us about it because he probably would have had a much more interesting take on a lot of this stuff.
I don't know. We are reaching that problem with the episode where it's like, okay, it's a 36-minute album. We've been recording for 39 minutes. We've been reviewing it for 35. It's now a commentary track. So,
God, you know what you should have picked, Steve, for an album that totally would have given us an hour and a half?
What's that?
Tool Laterus.
Ooh, that would have been a good pick.
That is such a great album and would have given us so much. I mean, not to shit on Supremacy. I mean, I think we're getting some stuff out of it. But honestly, if you wanted to go really in-depth, Laterus would have been the perfect album.
Well, I mean, like, deeper albums and stuff, we could have picked Narrative by Fire from the Gods, or, like, we could have gone through Demons by Get Scared. Like, there's deeper, more interesting places to go with the genre. It's just, I think this one's particularly challenging just because there's so little to say, yet there's so much about it that I really like.
Yeah, that's really what it is. Is like there are intellectually better choices, but you are at a place at a time with this right now. And
exactly.
It's affecting you. So you want to talk about it. I have that with Geeky Gentleman all the time. Like, I'm in a mood for this character. Who cares if it's not relevant right now?
Yeah.
Let's review this movie from 7 years ago.
Yeah, I mean, remember, I made an entire review topic because I liked the sound of a guy's name, so...
Yep. I saw hilarious... Speaking of that, it's so odd that you bring it up. I saw a hilarious tweet about Werner Herzog the other day. It was... My home is a shelter from the inevitable destruction of nature. Its walls are made of trees. I turn them into traitors. It's all like from the perspective of Werner Herzog.
That's so badass.
And speaking of Werner Herzog, I watched a documentary directed by him of him looking for Loch Ness Monster.
Oh my god.
Yes,
oh my lord.
It's fantastic. It's so insane.
Yeah. Werner Herzog has actually made I want to say he's made more documentaries than he's made, like, narrative fiction films.
Yeah, he's a big documentary guy, and he's done a lot of, like, just short film work and stuff.
Yeah, and I know you guys talked about the Nosferatu film, but wow, this is so off topic. But the guy who played Nosferatu, Klaus Kinski, he and Werner Herzog, like, worked on 5 films together, and they had a notoriously toxic relationship where they both wanted to be the biggest people on set. So, like, Fitzcarraldo, Nosferatu, and then a few other films that they made are like legend. Oh, and Aguirre, The Wrath of God, probably the most famous of their collaborations. But yeah, no, there's a really cool documentary about Werner Herzog talking about Klaus Kinski after he died.
I need to look that one up because that'd be fun. But like getting back to this, there's a sound quality to this. Like it's a not safe for work kind of thing. It's not like you don't blast this when you're at your girlfriend's house for dinner or something like that, right?
I don't know, depending on the girlfriend.
Yeah, no, okay, you don't blast this for her parents.
Again,
depends on her parents.
No, I agree. This is Like, this is... I mean, honestly, though, depending on your parents, this is the kind of thing you would roll up to if you wanted to piss off your girlfriend's parents, right?
Yeah, like, the thing is, like, this is a weird thing to share with people purely for an intellectual reason as opposed to a more emotional one. Mm-hmm. Which is, again, partly why I wanted to talk about it over something like Every Trick in the Book, because I feel like you could, like, academically talk about that all day, but that's kind of boring.
Yeah. So, speaking of an element that you just briefly brought up, I want to say that this album is very well produced. I think the sound quality here is very clear, and I liked it, but it still doesn't sound like a pop track to where it's overproduced.
I cannot agree with that. It's
I read that it was the first and only one they did with Roadrunner.
Yep.
Is that the music house that they did this with? And then I saw that they have their own production house now. So did they do one with Roadrunner and then they created their own? Was that how it happened?
Well, I mean, like, they're an indie band that got bigger. Supremacy is not their biggest album, but like it's definitely their best produced one because there is an actual company behind it.
Okay.
After that, because this is the thing that happens with a lot of metalcore bands, particularly the ones like I've been listening to lately, that like they're not the big ones like Avenged Sevenfold or stuff like that. They're like Corporate Avenger, where you can't even find them on Spotify because everyone bans their stuff, like that kind of thing.
Okay.
So like the production quality goes in and out for a lot of it. This is probably like their technically best selling album, but with a lot of the stuff in this genre, it's almost a given that it's supposed to sound a little crappy.
Uh-huh.
And see, for me, I have a hard time talking about just the drums and the music and the sound behind all that, because Connor and I have discussed this in the past. I am a very lyrically inclined person when it comes to music because I have absolutely no sense of rhythm whatsoever. I've discussed this ad nauseum, but fuck it, we need to fill time. I am so bad at keeping rhythm that, like, if a video game puts up a rhythm puzzle, it takes me like half an hour to get through it, no matter how damn simplistic it is. I'm just terrible at keeping rhythm, so I can definitely hear when something's not on a beat, but when it's just this much noise all at once, I can't even tell there's a melody to half these songs. I couldn't catch any of that. I couldn't catch, like, what instrument was playing at what time, which is weird. Like, I don't know what the guitar and the bass was at different points. Sometimes it was obvious because basses don't go that high, but still.
Mm-hmm. Well, okay, I'll say this much about the bass. No actual bass player plays with a pick. That's very disappointing that the bass player is clearly playing with a pick. Yeah, that was a big no-no on my part.
Yeah, see, that's completely over my head. I have no idea if you're just, like, making a subtle joke or if
no,
I'm
not.
Like, literally
that's honest to God, like a
tell.
thing I feel.
I don't even know how you can tell.
Well, that's the thing. Like, I live with a brother who's been playing bass for 10 years, whether it be upright in jazz bands or whether it be bass guitar in, like, just like generic rock groups or whatever. He's played bass and he never plays with a pick. And when he does play with a pick, it's very noticeable. It has a more twangy guitar sound to it. It's very clear when you hear a bass player playing with a pick because it does sound a little bit more like a guitar, and you can tell that it's just a guitarist who's been given a bass and he has to play with 4 strings instead of 6.
Huh.
That's just a general thing. Because now I learned how to, like, and I'm more musically inclined as opposed to lyrically inclined because I was trained how to play violin for 7 years, and I can read music and I can write music and I have an ear for that sort of stuff more so than just lyrical stuff. So
yeah,
that's the stuff that attracted me in this album more than the lyrics.
Gotcha. And that's so weird because to me, like I said, if it hadn't been for some of those silences between the tracks, I probably wouldn't have even been able to tell the song changed. It's just so overwhelming and not in a good way for me.
I wonder how much of that overwhelmingness is like part of the point. Because maybe this is good context to bring in now as opposed to later. But like, there was a guitarist in the band for like their first 2 albums. Maybe not even their first 2. Maybe only their first one. That I'm thinking about it because their second one was 2003. But there was a guitarist in the in their band originally that quit really, really early on, and this album came out in 2006 in the summer, and that guitarist killed himself in the fall of the same year.
Whoa.
So, and I know that they didn't have a falling out. Like, the guitarist, quit, but they were friends still. Right. So, I wonder how much of, this album is designed almost purely because of the experience of having to deal with that person before they died.
Wow.
And maybe the overwhelmingness is part of that.
Mm-hmm. Wow. Wow. I'm not a big Metallica fan, but their song Fade to Black, I really loved that song when I was younger, and that's a song that's about suicide, and they actually wrote that when all of their equipment got stolen out of their studio that they were producing out of. So that's a very common theme that I've noticed throughout metal music, is that metal musicians are very passionate about their art and the people that they share their art with, or they make their art with, and that when death hits them, it seems to hit them in a much more personal place than other musicians. It seems that way because they really do put that into the music that they make.
Gotcha.
And this is just why I prefer metalcore on a more emotional level. If I'm feeling romantic, I listen to Frank Sinatra. If I'm feeling happy, I listen to Panic at the Disco. But if there's ever a gut-wrenching emotion that needs processing, my head doesn't go to quote-unquote classier music. It goes to shit it goes to this, it goes to Bullets by Valentine, it goes to Davy's Suicide, it goes to that kind of thing.
Gotcha. And for me, I need my handheld to get emotionally invested in a song a lot of times. Some of my favorite bands, Pink Floyd, That Handsome Devil, The Doors, you know what they do? They have, really slow intros to their songs. Fucking Another Brick in the Wall, it's in 2 parts. No one ever talks about this, but there's Another Brick in the Wall, Part 1 and Part 2. They always just get played on the radio as one long song. It's 2 songs because Waters wants you to have an entire tiny song's worth of context to go into the other one. People ignore it anyway, but it's there.
That's the opposite of the Green Day problem, where everyone knows Holiday and Boulevard of Broken Dreams as 2 different songs, but they're one song?
Yeah, and it's so weird because I need my handheld with stuff. Thing I love on an album is when they do sound design and actually build up to a song. And it's because that's how I got into music, was listening to Dark Side of the Moon over and over and over and over again. And that's what they fucking do. They build into each song like that. And so I was almost the first song I was okay, maybe this isn't my thing, but maybe I can still get into a little bit because they had the building, and I rewatched the first song for its music video, and the way that builds into that first big guitar riff and stuff. I'm totally with it. But no, it's just song ends, da-da. I'm fucking Christ. I need a minute, y'all. I need to collect myself. I need you to just chill with me and lead me down this path for a sec. And they're
I guess
we are sprinting all the way to the end.
And see, that's weird, right? Because you see this as a really energized thing, but this album helps me relax. I fall asleep listening to this sometimes.
I almost did, actually, but that's just because I'm really tired right now.
No, that's fair, but it's weird because you're seeing this as, you said, as a sprint. This album is energy, and I don't know if I really feel that way when I listen to it, even if it's true.
Okay, here's my thing. Go look at the comments, because besides the racist talk and stuff, there are a lot of people saying, oh yeah, it's like an adrenaline rush, or oh, I listen to this while I work out. So, there you go.
That's just so weird. I would never listen to this while I'm working out. Oh, man, I might listen to it while I'm working out. I don't know. It's not really the thing I would go to for that. This is the thing I would go to to detox from a day.
Well, if I want to destroy my muscles while I'm working out, I'll play Destroy Everything.
Maybe that's fair, yeah. I mean, my go-to workout albums are more Manson-y, but that's okay.
Do you guys? Anyone? Workout song is Fight of Her Life. 'Cause Fight of Her Life.
Oh, Christ.
So does anybody else think the bass player of this band looks like Russell Crowe?
I've never seen his picture.
Okay. I had to look him up for whatever reason, and I thought, this guy looks like Russell Crowe with tattoos.
How do you know Russell Crowe doesn't have tattoos?
Oh, well, I don't. He doesn't have sleeves of tattoos. At least I don't think so.
I mean, you never know.
Sounds like a real bitch for the makeup department on like every movie Russell Crowe's been in.
Can you imagine the nice guys? No one had sleeves in the 70s, Russell.
Oh, man. Okay. I don't know, man. We are running low on things to talk about. Deadpoolzilla,
It's
you
a
haven't
challenge,
talked in a
right?
while.
Like, that's the thing with the album is it's a challenge to talk about.
Deadpoolzilla, you take us somewhere. You've been quiet.
Well, I've been quiet because I've been letting you guys talk because, yeah. I think we pretty much covered everything about this, is that this album is very, hit the ground running. It's at the same time melodic. And I can understand with what Steve said, it is kind of almost like sensory overload. But that's not to say anything bad about it. I mean, I've encountered albums, metalcore and heavy metal and all sorts of in the metal genre and outside of the metal genre, where it is very, okay, here you go, this is the start of the song, we're not stopping till the end. But yeah, all I can say is it's, I wouldn't say that this is one of my favorite albums. Again, I think the second is my favorite of Hatebreed. Again, that's just my personal thing. But this would probably, if I was to like jot them down, maybe this would be my silver medal. This would be my number 2.
Okay.
Well, I know that Steve's a big singles guy. So what's everyone's favorite song on the album? My favorite
one song?
is... one song. If you had to pick one, because I'll do that. I'll say mine is Never Let It Die. That song I could imagine as a jazz lounge tune. I'd like to hear that arrangement. I'm not kidding. Like, I think that would actually be pretty cool.
Mine would be Destroy Everything.
Mine would be Mind Overall.
Good tune.
I guess I'd go with Defeatist because it's the one that I could get the most into.
Give Wings to My Triumph is also another good one, if cheesy.
Gotcha.
Yeah. You know what? I want to throw this out for a geeky gentleman, whether we do it next week or sometime, because what you were saying, Ian, about being melodic as well as, feeling something about the album, I've got the perfect album that we can talk about for hours.
What's that?
A Perfect Circle, The 13th Step.
Maybe. We'll see. We'll consider it, but I think we're going to go with something, not rock related, because I think we've only done rock albums the next time we do a music review.
Well, we can do one of my Beta Male Cuck albums and talk about a Red Hot Chili Peppers album, right? Right? Yeah.
Oh.
Yep. Sure, Connor. I don't know. I would like to review like some blues or something.
No,
I'm tempted to just keep picking music at this point, actually, because I would love, of all people, to get Ian's reaction to "Freedom Is a State of Mind," the Corporate Avenger album, with such great songs as "Christians Murdered Indians" and "The Bible Is Bullshit."
Oh my god!
I love that. Because here's the thing with Corporate Avenger, though. It's a group of Native Americans in a metalcore band yelling about U.S. imperialism and genocide of Native Americans.
Oh, that sounds beautiful. You should pick that for History Month.
It's the greatest thing ever.
You should pick that for History Month.
That's a perfect idea. November will be for History Month. Because, it's so interesting. It's one thing to hear libertarians complain about taxes or stealing, but this is literally a group of people whose ancestors were murdered and lost everything complaining about taxes. And they've got an entire song about the $20 bill. It's fantastic.
Oh, man. That sounds beautiful.
Well, let's not count on Steve to be here in November, though. We can't have that happen.
No, it's December that Steve.
Oh, it's
gets
December.
that on.
Rats. Sorry.
What,
Man.
wait, what,
So
where is
close.
Steve going? Where is Steve
Just
going?
okay, so we didn't want to do. Initially, I didn't want to do Geeky Gentleman Holiday Month. Like the first year Steve was on, he tried to convince me to do it. I was like, no, I don't want to do Christmas movies all month or whatever. The second year, I was like, okay, Steve, we'll do Christmas movies. And he's like, no, I can't do December this year. Finals. I'm like, okay, shit. And then the third year, Steve was fucking disappeared forever. And so we did Holiday Month just for Steve, and Steve is yet to be on an episode of Geeky Gentleman Holiday Month.
Although, it'd be really cool if I was on this time, because that would mark my 4th year here, wouldn't it?
Yeah, it would. You've been, by December, you will have been doing Geeky Gentleman longer than you were in high school.
That's terrifying.
Yeah, it's weird, right?
I'm getting old. Holy
me
crap.
too, right? God, I think about that all the time. I was like, man, I worked at Goodwill double the amount of time that I was in high school.
You know what's even weirder, though? By this time... Yeah, this is kind of fucked up to think about, but like by the time we get to like January and I have been here for over 4 years, you and Haley will have been married for like 6 months.
Yeah, I know. It's weird. Time marches on. Time forgives no man.
Stop marching. I have things to do.
God, I'm just trying to, for Ian, I'm trying to, process, double the amount of time in high school and working at Goodwill. I could have just gone home and killed myself in that time.
It wasn't that bad a job. It was easy. Anyway, all right, everyone. I think we're gonna call it on this album. This is gonna be a shorter episode, Geek Gentlemen. You get to make fun of me for listening to Bright Eyes. You can go listen to some Bright Eyes and go, God damn, Ian, this is some pussy ass shit, and I'll be like, probably.
I mean, if we're sharing shameful, weirdly emo bands just for laughs, then Hawthorne Heights. If only you were lonely. That's pretty shitty.
I could do you well. Him is actually not bad of a band. I take that.
I like him.
Yeah, I was about to say, how about him? And I was like, oh, wait, him's actually a good band. I retract my statement.
I mean,
okay,
I honestly can't tell you if
Avenged
Bright Eyes
Sevenfold
is a good band or not. I can tell you that it doesn't, probably doesn't hold up at all for me.
As long as no one secretly listens to Nickelback, we're good.
Connor?
Look at this photograph! Nah, I hate Nickelback.
Kill him! I just had a Meeseeks moment. It was like, kill him!
Oh, there we go. We can get a Meeseeks and ask him to kill Nickelback and Coldplay.
You remind me of who I really am.
Mm-hmm. Yep, thank you, Connor. This episode of Geeky Gentlemen featuring the musical stylings of Connor Wilson. Connor, you should get a band together and call it the Beta Male Cocks.
Yes, I should.
Okay. Hopefully Rascal will be back next week, folks. He and I are planning to record fan film reviews again, so expect the return of those. But before we get into the next week's discussion, let's do a rating. I'm going to give this 1 out of 5 wings on my victory.
Well, nice knowing you, Ian. They're going to kill you.
Yeah, they're going to curb stomp me like a hood nigger.
I can't believe you said that.
What the fuck they said? Just quoting.
Okay. It was unexpected is all.
I throw people off so much because I don't, censor myself with that word. I hung out with black people so much in high school. I'm so used to it. It's terrible. Anyway, Steve, how about you? What do you rate this?
I give this 4 out of 5 diehards as they come.
Connor?
I will give Hatebreed Supremacy 3 out of 5 selves.
Selves, as in beta male cucks. How about you, Deadpoolzilla?
I am going to give this 4 out of 5 Destroy everything. I can't think of anything better.
Oh.
Destroy 4 out of 5 of everything. Got it.
4 out of 5 everythings. There you go.
There you go. Okay, what are we going to talk about next week?
Discussion topic.
Yeah, Steve, you just picked the review. I picked the last discussion, so fuck it, I'll pick another discussion. Well, we did a list last time, so I don't want to do that again.
Oh yeah, we did, didn't we? I feel like I had an idea, but I completely forgot what it was.
Yeah.
I got an idea, but I don't know if you guys would go with it. I don't.
What have we got?
Oh, you want to go first, or Connor, or?
Oh yeah, I'm sorry, I didn't know you were talking. I was just gonna say, just kind of talk about the way the online movie review sphere is sort of looking like right now, because I've been triggered by it so hard for the last 2 weeks. I want to talk about it with somebody. Or is that maybe too broad a topic?
Problem is, we've already talked about reviewing, and online reviewing came up a lot in that.
We did that video, didn't we? Yeah.
Yeah.
I was going to say there might be something there, but yeah, we did talk about this.
I was just going to suggest doing... God, I was kind of like, I wanted to do the album review, but I was just like, well, we just did that already, so I don't know if anyone wanted to do that again.
Nah, it's got to be discussion. I know this is the most interesting kind of thing to listen to, folks at home. And
this is literally how we decide, so, completely unfiltered.
I am not going to edit anything out.
No, this is just what we do. We just kind of sit around and, pompously try to figure out things to talk about.
Yeah, things that you, the folks, might find interesting. Oh, wait, here we go. Here's an idea. You decide. Leave a comment below. I will not look at any of the comments left on this video until Friday night at 10:30, and we'll go through the comments and decide on the best topic at that point in time.
Dude, can we start recording as soon as you do that? So, the beginning of the video is us reading the comments and deciding?
Yes, we can do that.
It will literally be a potluck.
Exactly.
It'll be fantastic. It'll be like the perfect continuation of the end of this discussion, because it's exactly the same thing of us trying to find a topic.
Exactly.
What'll the title of the episode be? Geeky Gentleman, ? For
the first day or so, yes.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
I've been
debating on whether or not to go back and change the title card for the Pacific Rim video, but I really enjoyed the troll there, so I don't know.
Sometimes you just gotta play with the trolls. It's so much fun.
Yeah. People, leave a discussion topic, and don't just leave a Q&A kind of thing. I need a really broad discussion topic that we can spend a whole episode on. So
what he's saying is, if you're going to leave a sucky comment, don't be smarter than that.
Well, it's funny. I talked about through this whole episode how I'm not all the people are gonna hate me in the comments. I don't think they are, because no one fucking watches this show. But I'm asking people to leave comments, so all this hate that I'm probably getting is gonna spill over to that. It's why don't you talk about why you're such a bitch?
I want this to happen. I can't wait.
Yeah, everyone make sure to tweet or whatever this video so people know to leave comments.
I'll make a dummy account and just make fun of you, Ian.
Yeah, go for it. Call yourself Neil Nonner
Kielson.
Yeah, Nonner Kielson. There you go. Do it for me, if for no other reason, because I will so laugh my ass off if you leave a bunch of really fucking mean comments under such a stupid name, Nonner Kielson. What terrible name is that? Nonner. Everyone, thanks very much for watching. Until next time, I'm the philosopher.
I am the exile.
I'm the Santa.
I'm the Don Juan of Comic-Con.
And we are your geeky gentlemen, and we will be discussing things.